All right, Raider family, what's going on? This your boy, the Mob Boss, man. Taking a moment just to shout out and pay homage to my brother, the Violator, man. If you didn't already know, he has paved the way for all of us. He's the true epitome of loyalty. That man has traveled miles and miles and miles to see the Raider Nation, all the way from Oakland to L.A., back to Oakland, and now on to Vegas. We need to follow that role model. Stay true to the nation, stay true like the Violator, stay true to the Raiders, and we'll all be good. Appreciate you, Violator, for all that you have taught me, for your tutelage, for your guidance, and for your brothership. I will always honor you, and I always give you the respect. And that's some real talk from the Mob Boss.
What's up, Raider Nation? This is the Violator. You're watching the Raider Homer channel.
Hello, Raider Nation, and welcome to Wayne Mabry, the LA Years. I'm Raider Homer, and joining me for this mini podcast is Wayne Mabry himself, aka the Violator. Thank you for joining me, Wayne, and how are you tonight?
I'm doing fine, Raider Homer. Thanks for having me on the show. Always glad to help out, man, with positive movements, with fans and their podcast amongst the Raider Nation. Trying to get the word out there. Spread the word.
Well, I'm sure I can speak for all of Raider Nation and say that we appreciate you spreading the word. Now, every journey has a beginning, and yours is one that has inspired countless Raider fans. We've all seen the Violator on TV, at the games, and in commercials. We've seen him in magazines and across other media. But this podcast aims to explore Wayne Mabry's journey to becoming the iconic Raider fan known as the Violator. As much as you've been able to achieve in the name of the Raider Nation as the Violator, it's the man behind the paint that's responsible for planting the seeds that are bearing fruit now. So what made you become such a die-hard Raider fan and decide to move to LA from Mississippi?
Well, Homer, you know, when I first started, brother, I'm going to keep it simple. When I first started, my journey to get to LA just to be able to attend games in person, that was a dream of mine as a young kid back in 1970. Once I saw that shield on the side of that helmet, I've always been into knights, armors, swords, pirates. So I was hooked just from that visual. And I've never forgotten that. And everything I've done since then, as far as the Raiders are concerned, the Raider Nation has been geared upon that first vision that I saw as a kid. So my dream was, I've got to get out to California to be able to go to these games in person. So my goal then was to move here and see where that adventure took me. You know, everybody where I came from said, that's too far. You don't know anybody out there. And my answer was, I will when I get there. And the rest is history.
So what was it like moving from Mississippi to California, not really knowing anyone there or what to expect? And what was your journey to Cali like?
Moving here was no problem to me because I have that nomad spirit. Wherever I go or put my mind to it, I can make it home. That's just a nomad or like you say, the Raider in me. So my ride to California came via being in a band. So we came out to perform on the Gong Show, and we ended up winning the Gong Show. So there's my entrance to California. Regardless of what happened after us winning that show and all of that, my thing was, now I've got to find a way to get to Oakland to watch my team.
So how big was the Raider Nation in 1977 in LA, and at what point did you start to develop the Violator persona?
In 77, there were Raider fans, but there was no Raider Nation per se, as we know it today. That hadn't even come across the horizon yet. And like I say, that thing built. I can't say I took responsibility for it, but my whole coming out of the closet, so to speak, with my character, that was a kindred spirit that I've been holding inside of me ever since I saw that symbol. I'm thinking football and Pirates. I've always been into superheroes, so I already knew what my character would look like eventually. So today you see the finished product.
So after the Raiders win their second Super Bowl title, Al Davis, not being able to get the stadium in Oakland refurbished, starts planning to move to L.A. What's going through your mind when you hear about the move to L.A., and how excited is L.A. about the Raiders moving there?
When that first hit the media that the Raiders would possibly move to L.A., me personally, I'm looking like, hell, Christmas is coming early. Here's my dream coming to me. So I knew at that point I was going to make it happen. Being in that Coliseum, watching these guys in person that I'd watched as a kid from years back. So it was like a dream come true. When they actually moved here, we couldn't believe it. LA was like a tornado came through. Pandemonium. Everybody wanted to wear silver and black. And of course, you know the story behind that. We took on that bad boy image, which LA had no problem with it. But it's just the way that it was portrayed media-wise. And I always had problems with it because it was always purity in my heart. This is about fan relationship with that team and nothing outside of that. Everywhere you went, everyone you talked to was speaking Raiders. Now, at that time, the LA Rams were still here, but the whole hype behind the Raiders and that image of being the bad boys, LA took them by storm. And like I say, I was just like, wow, this is reality. I wondered all the time if the team even knew how much of effect they had on a whole society of people.
At this point, the Raiders are settling into their new home, and they are about to become champions for a third time. So take us through the game day ritual of Wayne Mabry in 1983.
Well, at that time, brother, I lived in South Central LA. I could actually walk to the Coliseum from the house I was renting. So my game day ritual was getting up early, getting on my, at that time, my starter jacket or my jersey when it was hot, walking to the Coliseum, having my festivities, my libations and my food with all the people that I met at that time, which was on a different level than once I decided to dress up. But the whole ritual was we're preparing for battle, and we were just totally infatuated by these bandits of the NFL called the Raiders. Those were our guys.
In 1986, the Raiders failed to make the playoffs for the first time since 1980. But the 1986 season saw the emergence of Bo Jackson. Now, I'm a huge Bo Jackson fan, as everyone knows, and I eventually got to meet him in 2013, but I never got to see him play in person. So what was it like to see the Bo Jackson era in person?
I got two words for you, Raider Homer and Raider Nation. And you all remember, it was Bo knows. Bo Jackson, in our eyesight, he was just short of walking on water. Talk about a phenom, a physical specimen, just an athlete like we had never laid eyes on before, especially wearing a football uniform. A man amongst boys, me watching him personally, it was just like, this guy was built to do this, which inspired me as far as, here's a guy living his childhood dreams, never knowing the level of greatness that he might accomplish. But I watched him in person, and he just changed the whole dynamic of the Raiders team in those years.
Yeah, that's when I became a Raider fan, when Bo Jackson was playing in 1990. That was his last year, though, but that's when I became a fan. He inspired me to play sports, both football and baseball. And I just, I fell in love with the Raiders because of Bo Jackson, and I just stuck with them. So, yeah, the Bo Jackson era was something special.
It definitely was. You couldn't even put together a draft for getting a guy like that. You couldn't even scout a guy like that because you didn't know what you were getting. But once we got him, it was just like, this is unreal, man. We got him and Marcus Allen together. Unbelievable.
In 1989, Al Davis takes a giant leap forward by promoting Art Shell to head coach, making him the first African-American head coach in NFL history. Art Shell, a former Raider player, knew the Raider way and turned us around and got us back on track. How exciting was it to see Art Shell, a Raider legend, become head coach?
As far as Art Shell becoming the first African-American head coach, it was like, that was total headlines at that time. I was so proud of him because I watched him as a player, and then to step up to the mantle and Al seeing fit for him to lead that team, he was the right person for the job at that moment in time. And, the team rallied behind him because everything he said, they bought into it. And he brought that tenacity that he played with into that organization. And like I say, we just started to flourish from that point on.
At this point, the Silver and Black are back with Art Shell, Bo Jackson, Marcus Allen, Greg Townsend, and Howie Long playing Raider football again. Now, as you mentioned on Coast to Coast with the Black Hole Superfans, Episode 2, this is the eve of the birth of the Violator. What led you to become the Violator in L.A.?
Interesting story right there, but I'll start it and be as quick as possible with it. Where I used to sit was right behind the bench. I had seats on the 50-yard line, about 6 rows up from the bench. And I believe that football is where you come and release all of that anxiety from the week building up to a game, such as the players go through before they go out to play. So I'm in the stands, so my energy is wouldn't let me sit down. So I was in the midst of a lot of dignitaries and Hollywood, celebrities and what have you. So they would always look at me like, what is wrong with this guy? Now, mind you, I wasn't dressing at that time, but I was still as loud as you see me today, just with a jersey and some jeans on, dressing all black as we do today. But they would always ask me, why do you never sit down? And over a season or so, I got sick of hearing that. So I'm like, you know what? It's about time to let them see how I really feel on game day. So that's where I started to kind of put my character together. Mind you now, I just really got into construction, so I was really just living paycheck to paycheck. So I just had to go to thrift shops and kind of put something together for a visual for that day that I was going to unleash Violator to the public. The idea of Violator comes from when I first saw that symbol, Pirates and football. So you know how they do on the Madden video games, you kind of make any player you want?
Yeah.
Well, in my mind, like I say, and always being a superhero kind of guy, I'm like, I'm going to do something that I'm feeling for myself. So it's basically, I'm doing me every time you see me. I'm just doing what I feel like inside. And when I paint up and put on the gear, that's letting you get a visual of how I feel every day, but especially on game day. So like I say, I started off as something a cross between football pirate and Mad Max, with a half a shoulder pad strapped on me with an elastic band, pom-poms in my jump boots that I wore at that time, some black Levi jeans, some wrist gauntlets, that kind of related to the grunge era or something like that, and a silk scarf on my head with the war paint done with 2 fingers at the time, sort of like Rambo. Wasn't about being pretty. It was about bringing that intensity to game day.
So how quickly did the Violator persona catch on with the media?
The very first day we walked in the Coliseum, the national anthem was playing, and everybody usually stands at attention. That wasn't my mindset at all. So I'm walking down from the top of the Coliseum in LA down to where my seats were, and I'm watching that whole crowd because they hadn't seen me yet. So I'm just kind of easing down while the national anthem is playing. So one of the cats from NFL Films is changing film in his camera. He looks up and he spots me, and he starts beckoning me with his finger. Come this way. So I'm looking at this guy, and I'm thinking, maybe he's not talking to me. Because everybody that I'm passing coming down the aisle are looking like, what the hell is this? So he keeps saying, come on down, come all the way down. So I pass the row where I'm sitting, go all the way down to the wall where he is, and he asks me, what's my name? You know, the typical stuff. Where are you sitting? And I point to where I'm sitting. And he says, okay, I got to get that. He says, we haven't seen nothing like this before. So, and I didn't think nothing else of it because I'm in game day mode. I got to get to my damn seat and start cheering. So, long story short, the next season comes along, and NFL Films, inside the NFL, to be specific, uses me yelling and screaming as their opening monologue, which blew me away. They didn't say they were going to do it. When I saw that, I'm like, wow. They saw fit in that, how I'm feeling, to show that. So that let me know something was going on. So then I talked to a couple of players, mainly Greg Townsend and Howie Long back then, who said that they noticed the media cameras following me everywhere I went. So I met them at a post-game dinner. And that's when Howie says, look, keep doing what you're doing, young man. We can hear you back there loud and clear, but the media is the one that's picking up on what you're doing. And they're going to eat that up in a few years. Mate, this was 92. And quiet as it's kept, I started doing interview after interview, trying to see who this crazy guy is that's keeping all this noise up in the Coliseum. I didn't like where I was sitting at the time, so I ended up switching seats to the end zone, which at that time was called a Pirate Pavilion. And those of you who were there with me, remember, it was all metal bleachers. And I'm like, this is perfect. We can make noise and disrupt the other team at the same time. So everybody that came over there, my motto was we don't sit over here. Stand up and stomp.
So what's it like doing media appearances as the Violator, especially during the Super Bowl weekend of 2003?
To me, media appearances is just an opportunity for me to share what my passion is towards that team. Like I said, the year of the Super Bowl in San Diego, 2002, I was down there the whole week doing media spots for, different shows and did on-field stuff with the NFL film crew. It was just normal for me. It was just, look, this is an avenue for me to express my personal feelings of my love for my team and also shed some light to not judging the book by the cover. Because, mind you now, we already had a reputation of being just badasses, thugs, whatever you call it. But look, I'm an outstanding citizen in my neighborhood. Always thought of doing community work. So I'd be damned if you're going to put me in that peg. So that's been my whole thing my whole life. Don't box me in because I'm way outside of the box that you think I should fit in. So being able to go down there and express myself, speak to them, in a nice manner, they were impressed by it. So, and I think that just added to the whole, this guy is different than what you see. And that just kept it going for me. That just inspired me. And I'm like, you know what? If I can inspire future generations to take on this kind of, commitment as far as fandom is concerned, we don't have to buy into all the negativity that was put out there at that time. My thing was to change that whole way that you look at Raider fans when you see me.
So did you ever think that you would inspire so many people?
During that time, brother, my main focus was, let's see how much of an influence I can actually be. Wasn't so much about inspiring at that time because I had to grow to that point in life where I actually knew what my worth was, knew that I was pretty much chosen to do this and just go with it, not stand back. And I had a conversation with Ken Stabler before he passed about that very subject matter at the Hilton in Oakland. And when he pulled me to the side, we were at a party, pregame stuff. He pulled me to the side, which was odd to me. The snake wants to say something to me. What he laid on me, brother, changed my whole outlook on what I do today. He says, listen, I've been watching you since you started doing that. He says, do you realize you're carrying a torch? And if I can say this on air, he said, carry that effing torch high because a lot of people are watching you and looking up to what you're doing. And that kind of just pulled the curtains back. And like I say, Violator was reborn in the way that you see him today with a whole different purpose. And like I say, that's to be a positive influence visually as intimidating as possible, but there's a whole different core to it, and I call it layers.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So after all your hard work and dedication, tell us what it felt like to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Being inducted in the NFL Football Hall of Fame in 2000 was like winning the Oscar or winning an Emmy or a Golden Globe or whatever have you. And you know, that came from people I didn't even know, but they were respecting what I stood for and what I was trying to represent. Me, that was the biggest honor I could ever achieve in my lifetime.
You've done so much for the Raider Nation through your efforts. Obviously, being a part of the Raider Nation means a lot to you. What message would you like to leave the Raider Nation?
If I could leave a message that would surpass the annals of time with the Raider Nation, it would be one thing. We are united under that shield and never let anybody or whoever change that concept. We know that we are the black sheep of the league. Embrace that like a badge of honor, because everybody wish that their owners had the vision of the great Al Davis and putting together, you know, such a unique look and concept, you know, and you know all the sayings, take no prisoners, take what you want, Raider rules, all of that stuff. We have changed the whole nature of the way the game is played. And to be able to represent that, brother, is just, I can't even put that in words, but I am so proud that I just followed what I felt inside. And that's what I try to share with all of the other fans. You notice I don't really use the term super fans. We're just like everybody else, but we have different levels of fandom. So when everybody expresses what they do, you can never shoot that down, because that's not you just pulling something out of a box and putting it on. That's an expression of what's in your spirit. And that's what carries this thing on. You know, when I'm dead and gone, hopefully it'll still be going that same way.
From 1990 to 1994, the Raiders would win and make the playoffs, but we never could get over the hump. At this point, I was in negotiations with Oakland to move the team back. After watching the Raiders in your own town for 12 years, what's going through your mind at that time, watching the Raiders get ready to move yet again?
During that time, we had a feeling through, what we heard through the media at that time, that the team was possibly being lured back by Oakland, but we didn't really believe it. On the day of the move, or the weekend of the move, and we had breaking news here in the LA area, I went into physical shock. I couldn't perform at work because my mind was on, did this team actually just leave here overnight? So my first thing was, after about 2 weeks of crying on my pillow, so to speak, I had to lace my bootstraps up and okay, now I was always planning to go to Oakland. Now I've got to make the necessary moves to get there. So we had to go through the whole PSL deal. I didn't really know anybody up there. So what I did was I wrote a letter to the Coliseum commissioner at that time, not thinking he knew me from Adams, but I just wrote that letter by faith, sent it there. When I got a response, brother, I couldn't believe it. This guy actually answered me back. He says, listen, I says, look, where I've been sitting, I really couldn't afford. He says, listen, pay what you can pay, and then when time to get the seats assigned, we'll see what we can do. So that shows you there's a God that walks behind you or beside you all the way. When I got there for the first games, and this is after they turned the stadium. You remember when we first got up there, the stadium was turned a different way. The field was a different way. So those weren't my seats that I have today. So when they finally rearranged the stadium and I got my seats, and you see where they are right at the 50 on the front row, this guy comes down, he greets me, introduces himself in person. He says, how do you like those seats? And I'm like, this is unbelievable. He says, look, this is where we felt you should be. And it's called one hand washing the other one. He says, look, the rest will be history. Just do what you do. And that's it. It took off from there.
Now here we are as a fan base watching our team move yet again. How are you feeling about the Vegas move after seeing the team move twice already?
I can revert back to the feeling I had when they left LA back to Oakland. The Oakland to Vegas move hurts just as much. Let me be frank with that. For that team to have to leave the state of California to get what Al dreamt of as having his state-of-the-art facility hurts my soul. But as a fan, it's like this. Either you're on board with it or you're not. That's business. As fans, it took me years to come to grips with. We only have so much control of what goes on with that team because this is a business. The NFL is a business. You see it with the players and everybody else. So why shouldn't it affect us? Because it does. But that's still showing that dedication. Wherever that flag is raised, that's where my heart is at. That's the same team, But crossing state lines, that's like major, But I'll be a fan forever, and that's just the way it is. So I will find a way to represent there in Las Vegas as best I can. But due to my financial situation, whether I'll have tickets or not, that's still up in the air.
How different do you think it's going to be in Vegas from Oakland, considering that Oakland has all the great tailgates and such a rich history of super fans and club presidents and everybody that's been fans most of their lives? I mean, how different do you think it's going to be in Vegas?
Let me see if I can explain this where everybody can understand where I'm coming from with it. Oakland is Mecca, point blank, in and of it. That's what drew me as a kid. I wanted to see that stadium. So I'll never forget the first time I stepped foot there. For them to leave, that's an end of an era. And you can print that. It's an end of an era. It will never be the same there. I've watched generations of families come together, regardless of their differences. Fellowship, I call it fellowshipping. We don't just tailgate, we fellowship. But you're talking generations of fans who dedicated a part of everything that they've made to show their loyalty to that silver and black. Now that they're leaving, it's going to be a new frontier. So I'm putting it right here with you tonight. I'm already calling it From Mecca to Babylon. That's the title. Now you can write a story about that if you wish. New frontier, a whole bunch of new fans, us blue collars who have been there thick and thin. A lot of us are being priced out, but that's the nature of the business of the NFL. And, however I can still represent, I'm going to find avenues to do that. But at the same time, here I am being priced out of my own neighborhood, so to speak, if you can relate it to real estate. I've been priced out of my whole neighborhood. So at this point, like I say, 28 years into it, brother, and going, getting ready to turn 63 years old, I got to look at life a little bit different right now.
Yeah.
But like I say, my heart still bleeds that silver and black. But it's a new day for the Raider Nation.
I'd like to thank you for you bringing us to this new day and all the work that you've done. I mean, it's sad that it's going to be different and things are changing. And hopefully you can make it there as much as possible.
But you know what? In closing, Raider Homer, the excitement that pumps within us when we see our team performing or getting ready to perform, it's never going to change. It's just something within us that draws us there. You know, financially, everybody's not going to be able to go and attend. Here I am speaking on that point myself. I don't know how many games I'm going to be able to attend, but that will never make me turn my back on that shield.
Wayne, I really appreciate your time, man. You've been a supporter of this channel from the beginning, so it's an honor to be able to share your story with the Raider Nation.
I appreciate that, brother. Listen, like I told you in the beginning, all you guys that are trying to send the message out there, the history of the Raider Nation and our growing and our upcoming and our future, I'm always behind you guys, man, because you guys keep it positive in spite of all the other negativity that circles us. And we all know what that is, and we all know when it comes, but we are steadfast in our beliefs. So if I'm considered a symbol of whatever of insanity and loyalty, paint that picture, because I am it.
So tell the Raider Nation how to find you and Motorsports merch on social media and the internet.
Thank you for giving me that plug. Listen, check my website out. I've got my own gear, my own brand of stuff, moto-sports.com. And also I have my own signature line of cigars. So hit me up at Violator57 on Twitter for the info. Send me direct messages, please. I will answer you in accordance. And I appreciate the support. Love you guys. Raider Nation for life.